People from both East and West utilize grains and fruits to make wine, a practice shared worldwide.
Rakije na istoku i na zapadu imaju različite karakteristike. Žuta rakija u gradu Šaosingu napravljena je od lepljivog pirinča, pšenice i vode. Duboka i slatka. Viski je napravljen od ječama i drugih žitarica, a ukus mu je relativno jak, dok se vino naravno pravi od grožđa i postoje mnoge vrste. Alkohol sa zapada i istoka je čovečanstva.
Almost like a purposeful creation of nature, wine is the perfect fusion of human wisdom and nature. From ingredients to alcohol, it's a sensual pleasure for the taste buds. With a few rounds of wine and a couple of dishes, people connect through this alcoholic beverage.
要有个取水口，取水口就是用管路直接放过去的，直接放到我们一个厂的里面，有一个净化处理的那个简单的净化处理，就直接可以酿酒了。
Shaosingu, Zhejiang, the home of Huangzhou. The Huangzhou produced here is one of the representatives of traditional Chinese wine culture. At the break of dawn, it is still foggy at Jian Lake in the early autumn. Sun Guochang, a local winemaker from Shaoxing, started his first job in the winery after graduating from college. He has been using a traditional winemaking method for 28 years. Every August, when the glutinous rice is ripe, he and his team start their busiest winemaking season of the year.
决定绍兴酒品质的糯米、小麦、健肤水，这个品质，它其实是决定性的。第二个呢，其实是我们绍兴酒的工艺，工艺呢是决定了这个酒的那个一个整体风格。
Sun Guochang's apprentice, Pan Liang, is also joining the production this year. Perfectly shaped rice grains with a fresh, grassy smell are ready for fermentation. With a handful of fermentation starter, winemakers close up the tanks and cover them with local bamboo mats, waiting for the fermentation of the rice. In Europe, barley farms in Britain are also expecting a bumper harvest. By fermenting grains like barley and distilling the mash, a high-alcohol whiskey is made, whose name originally came from the Gaelic term water of life. In the 15th century, whiskey in Scotland was more of a potion to ward off the cold. Through enhanced distillation technology and material selection, this unified style of alcohol was formed. The origins of whiskey across the world have yet to be verified, but what can be certain is that whiskey has been produced in Scotland for more than 500 years. For this reason, Scotland is generally regarded as the birthplace of whiskey. As night falls, young people in the city finish their day in the office and unload themselves from work in the bars. With years of traveling in the West, Guo Wei has created a place for these people to relax in.
20岁出头的时候吧，那刚开始也是，跟大家一起喝什么黑方啊，喝芝华士啊，就是喝着玩。90年代末的时候，接触到一些比较小众的单一麦芽，它的特点和调和型的 whisky 最大的区别就是它是很有个性的。whisky 其实是用各种谷物去 都可以作为原料的嘛。但是单一麦芽就是只使用这个大麦麦芽作为原料，并且呢只在一个酒厂里面蒸馏和这个生产的。
Compared with the traditionally made Huangjiu, whiskey is brewed in a more mass-produced way. In the distillery, grains like barley are ground and stuffed into the equipment for saccharification with the help of enzymes. In different time zones, 2 different types of alcoholic beverage finish the same transformation.
它其实每道工序呢，里面都有科学的原理在的。因为酿酒的话，本身是个微生物发酵过程。
After a day of saccharification, a pad of sugar water from the rice is formed. Today, Sun Guochang's apprentice, Pan Liang, is working as a director for the first time. He needs to measure the temperature with the method he learns from his teacher and listen to the bubbles from the fermentation in order to decide when to blend the yeast and the water. Other winemakers are also staying up the whole night to repeatedly stir and cool down the mash. No mistakes are allowed. After a whole night of fermentation, raw Huangjiu will be stored in pottery jars and moved to a ventilated space on the second day. Pottery jars made from the local soil are breathable to a certain degree, which will help further fermentation of the rice wine in the jar. In 3 years' time, an entry-level Huangjiu will be ready to serve. Meanwhile, in the UK, the saccharified grains are further purified through distillation to obtain whiskey with a higher alcohol content and a stronger taste. The whiskey will be filled into barrels made of local wood. It is also through years of further fermentation that such a unique style of aged liquor is formed. People from both sides of the earth use local materials for brewing wine and liquor. The home-cooked dishes of Jiangsu and Zhejiang people are always accompanied by a bowl of aged Huadiao rice wine, and in banquets, they will always have a jar of aged Jimo as a finale. In Europe, people also bond over wine. Be it in a party or a wedding, an alcoholic beverage is always a mood booster.
我觉得酒就是生活的润滑剂，对于所有的人都是一样，东方人也是一样，西方人也是一样。酒吧是绝对是对于西方人来讲是一个很重要的社交场景。苏格兰、爱尔兰都是很爱喝酒的这个民族嘛，他的社交呢，更多的是放在下班之后的这个 happy hour 是吧？这个欢乐时光，或者是饭后喝一点烈酒，帮助消化，这2个场景是最多的。所以它的发展最后就出现了深夜的酒吧。
In terms of the meaning of wine, people from East and West are like-minded. In Guo Wei's bar, alcohol is a way of intercultural communication.
哥，哎呀，小帅，你好，
怎么样？最近
挺好。我们家
Catering practitioner Sasha Sommerschuh from Germany has been in China for 14 years. As he dived more into the Chinese culture, he fell in love with Huangjiu and what to serve with it.
浙江绍兴啊，来了一批好酒，先闻一闻这个酒香味儿。
哇，闻起
它是
来很
纯
甜。，
你看看它的颜色。
哇，
来，走，咱边尝边聊，好吧？
In Zhejiang and Jiangsu cuisine, Huangjiu is not only a good treat for friends and relatives, but also a useful ingredient for removing a fishy smell and greasy taste in the food. The flavor of fermented grains blends with protein under heat, creating an even richer aroma. With Huangjiu, Jiangsu and Zhejiang-style cuisine level up in freshness and taste.
倒酒，来，敬你一个。就是一些国外进来的酒，有什么比较？
还是很像葡萄酒，然后就是冰镇的那个，可能就是更接近就是白葡萄酒。
它的酸度有了。
对。
After trying Huangjiu and the food, Sasha is reminded of the red wine Europeans are familiar with. The history of red wine can be traced back to 6,000 years ago. The fertile land between the Black Sea and Caspian Sea is one of the earliest vine cultivation regions in the world, whose warm climate, abundant rainfall, and mineral-rich soil provide perfect conditions for making the rich and fresh-flavored red wine. A good balance of acidity and tannin adds sophistication to the taste. When it comes to cooking, red wine plays even more roles. Generally, red wine with its stronger taste goes well with red meats like beef and lamb, while the lighter flavored white wine is better for white meats such as chicken and fish. With more cultural exchanges between East and West, new combinations of food and wine have emerged.
重口味的东西，我要配一个重的余味长的酒，或者油腻的东西，我就要来一个酸度，或者来一个起泡去解腻。
In Qingtian County, around 300 kilometers away from Shaoxing, wine taster Wang Lu, who just came back from Europe to China, is conducting a wine tasting workshop in the winery. She has also discovered similarities between red wine and Huangjiu.
葡萄酒对于欧洲传统酿酒国家，例如法国、西班牙、意大利的话，其实是跟面包一样的，是在餐桌上必不可少的一件东西。在于黄酒传统的酿造的产区来说，他们就是吃饭的时候必须来一碗黄酒。
According to its sweetness, red wine can be categorized as dry, semi-dry, semi-sweet, and sweet, exactly the same as the 4 types of Huangjiu. Such a coincidence helps not only in making Huangjiu go global, but bringing in red wine to China. Wang Lu's idea of replacing red wine with Huangjiu has been realized in Qingtian County.
有稍微干一点的这种寂寞老酒，就可以去配一些烟熏味的食物。
Also, red wine can be used like Huangjiu in Chinese cuisine.
东坡肉，那我就要找一个稍微带一丢丢的甜感的一些干红。
Many overseas Chinese, like Wan Lu in Qingtian, are returning to their hometowns after spending time living in Europe. They are very willing to let the integration of Chinese and Western cultures create new content. The taste of wine transforms over time, brewing together thoughts and emotions. From the fermentation of crops and fruits to the rendezvous between the human palate and fine wine, people turn each emotion in their lives into the delightful taste and memories of wine and age it in their hearts.